Hey guys, hope you're doing well and having a great day so far. In this video, following on from my last video about the one thing, I really wanted to talk about creating your future from the future. And this is a concept, not just a concept, it's a way of living, a way of being in the world that I learned from one of my mentors, Steve Chandler, who I admire a lot. And it's been transformative in my life and the lives of my clients. The problem that we face, and the problem which a lot of people initially came to me with before working with me, they used to be like, do you know what, Jaineel, I'm just not that kind of guy to speak my truth and have that much courage. Typically I've not really been that kind of person. Maybe I've been a bit shy, and when it comes down to leading at work and at home, I've typically have not been that person. Or many of my clients come to me with, typically I'm just not that kind of person to be as disciplined. Like I procrastinate a lot. I've always been a procrastinator, and that's just who I am, and that's just a lot of my life has been like that. And this is the problem that we face, right? We find sometimes ourselves creating our future from our past stories on how we used to be like, years ago, how we used to be like yesterday, right? And that's one way of creating your future, looking back at your life and steadily improving from that place. And there's nothing wrong with that. As part of this group, we talk about daily improvements. We talk about taking the small steps, and that's amazing. However, we don't need to create our future from our past stories, the past labels that we have put on ourselves, and the past life that we've been living. And so for someone who, for example, as you guys in this group, and many of the people I work with, they're leaders. They're leaders in the workforce. They are highly successful, high-performing leaders already. They are, entrepreneurs doing really well already in the world. But now we want to, now they want to step into their courageous leadership. They want to be more heroic leaders in the world. And that's why you guys are part of this group. You want to step into your heroic version, right? And you want to maybe make some changes and lead from within, as we talk about. So yes, you can make daily improvements on where you were yesterday, but I would invite you to think about creating the future from the future. And for example, you mentioned that you want to develop more courage and lead more courageously in life. And so typically, I'm just making this story up, but typically you may have been the kind of person to not act so courageously or not speak so courageously, and it may not come naturally to you to be that way. However, if you looked at the future, more heroic version of you, 10 years time from now, how would he be showing up? How would he be showing up in the world, in the way, in his family life, his personal life, in his business life, in his career? And most likely, from what I've listened in this group, it's leading with courage, who's acting with courage, who's being courageous, right? Leading from the heart. And the word courage comes from a French word which means from the heart. And so I would invite you to create this version of you today from the future and be that person today. Take that small courageous step. Do whatever makes sense for you in terms of the courageous act that you want to take today, not from yesterday, because you don't want to create the future from yesterday. Yesterday you may have kind of acted some form of courage, or you've taken some form of action, and you could take a 10% increase today as to yesterday, and that's more of the doing. Or you could see the future heroic version of you, the heroic leader that you want to be in the world, and embody that today. It's more about the being. It's not so much about what you do as much as it is about who you are being in the world. And so creating the future from the future is more about understanding how you want to show up in the world, who you're being, who you want to be in the world, and then being that person today, right now. And so in that way, you're creating the future from the future. You're creating today from the future, not from the past stories and labels and all that kind of stuff that's happened in the past. Right? Because when we realize that we are infinite creative beings, you can choose. You can choose the way that you want to show up today. You can choose who you're being in the world right now. And most people choose from the past. They look at the past and think, okay, what improvements can I make from the past? Most people look at their past stories. That's one way of doing it. However, what's transformative and what really helps with exponentially leading and consciously being this person is when you look at the future and start being this person today. You want to be someone who's really being of service and being in flow regularly and leading with your heart, rather than thinking about, okay, previously I have been not so disciplined in my deep work or in my flow state. Rather than thinking about improvements from yesterday, think about, okay, who do you want to be in the future? How does she show up 10 years time from now? How can I embody that person today? So you're creating the future, i.e. from now onward, right? So my question to you is, where have you been creating your future in the past or from the past? Where have you been creating your future from the past? Has that really served you? And how can you now create your future from this future heroic version of you? I want you guys to think about that. Comment below on this live in our group and let me know what insights you've taken away from this. Let me know what's the one thing that you can start creating and from today in terms of your creative potential, who you can be in the world, what choices you can make today from looking out ahead in the future and embodying that person today, right? Because again, it's more about who you're being in the world than what you're doing.